Hello everyone. Today I'm going to do a little bit of running around because I wanted to discuss wood chips and how to get wood chips. I personally have tried three different ways. One was chip drop, and I have another video that kind of goes over that in my little urban lot. I've also paid for individual and like a mass load of wood chips from a local lumber yard, and I'll talk about the size of the chips, which I think is important, and also the price of that. And I'm going to take you over to my other property where the chip drop wood chips are, and I'll show you the trees that I use, which is the third method, is trying to get like a local tree trimming company to either deliver wood chips to your house outside of using chip drop, which is basically what chip drop is just a go-between for the local arborists and you. Because what I did is I ended up at the other property. I had a couple of trees that needed to be trimmed, and I had them just dump off right on top of what had already been dropped off with chip drop. Okay, so I'll show you right outside here at my house at those sides of the wood chips. It's a little snowy and cold out. Well, it's very cold out and a little snowy. And I'll bring you over to the urban lot and I'll show you the difference in the wood chips and the amount of wood chips that you get for the money. And also kind of discuss some of the time constraints that each of these methods have. So this should be really helpful for those that are kind of doing along the same path as me, because I really wanted to get some wood chips. So heard about no-till gardening and setting up a food forest and talking about trying to get your soil or your land from being an bacteria dominated soil or ecosystem to a fungally dominated one. And basically the spectrum is small, simple grasses all the way to giant oaks and, redwoods and stuff like that. There's a whole spectrum of bacteria dominated ecosystem all the way to fungally dominated. And of course, there's different plants that will either the seeds will sprout only when it's fungally dominated, and there's all sorts of chemicals and interactions that go along. But quite simply, it's not just every seed planted in any soil will always sprout. They're waiting for certain conditions. Obviously, temperature and sun and the radiation of that sun, depending on the rotation of the planets. Like in the winter, it's hard to get a seed to sprout outside, but come spring, warms up a little bit. There's more heat from the sun and more energy from the sun. So I'll take you right outside here and I'll show you that, and then we'll run over to the other lot. This is the pile that I had dropped off, and it cost me just under $500. You can try to trace out how big it was. It was one dump truck load. Let me grab this phone a little better. So you can kind of see the leading edge here. So it went around to about here to right around basically where the sunchokes are planted now. So it was just about that size, and it was one dump truck load. Cost me just under $500, and I got it from, hopefully I'm not going to stand on any bushes. And it was from like a local lumber mill. And I don't know what kind of trees they were. They said like none of them were pine, but I don't know how they would even know. So, I mean, they're pretty much the same. I mean, pretty similar in size. There's just no sticks or anything. That's the big difference between getting it from an arborist or getting it from a like a lumber mill themselves. For the lumber mill itself, it wasn't too bad. I mean, I just called them, asked them what I wanted. It was like a single cut, I think is what they referred to it as. They just have big piles of the wood chips, and I ordered it. What I've done in the past is I paid like $38 or $40 to go there with my truck, and they give you 1 yard for like $38. And they have other colors and stuff you can get, but I got the ones that were untreated and uncolored and all that. So, and that wasn't too bad, but I had to drive the 5 miles to get there and 5 miles back. And 1 yard is, if you've ever seen like a bobcat, one of those smaller buckets, that's all it was. They just picked it up and dumped it in the back of my truck and stomped it down so it didn't fly out of my, at least not too many wood chips flew out of my truck as I was driving. But I couldn't put the topper on it or anything like that. So that was, that worked out, and it worked out in a pinch, and I actually made a lot of these pathways with it. But one truckload doesn't go very far, and even that one dump truck didn't go very far. So if you want real bulk, getting with an arborist, either through chip drop or by getting them to trim your trees is probably the best way to do it for large bulk. Calling a different arborist to get them to drop off is good. And usually these arborists, they oftentimes have to pay to drop off at the city. There's usually a fee. So the thing that chip drop does that's good, is it allows you to put in how much you want to donate. I've always put $40 was what I was going to donate. I'm not sure if you increase that number, if I would get more deliveries or not. I'm kind of in a smaller city. It's not a major city, so when I look at the map on chip drop, it shows like 3 deliveries in my city, and everything's to the south. So just keep that in mind. What I've really liked, though, is actually hiring a company and having them trim some of my trees that I wanted trimmed anyways to open up some sunlight, and just kind of hooking up with them to get more loads. So I'm going to go over to the little urban property, and I'll show you the difference in the wood chips and how many wood chips I got, because I got probably 6 or 7 full dump truck loads. It cost me $40. I had to pay for the trees to get trimmed, but if that's already a thing that you're going to do, might as well have them just dump them there, and you can kind of tell them where to shoot the chips as they're getting shredded. So it works out pretty neat. Here we are at the other property, and this is primarily where my chip drop got dropped off, and it actually goes from the far edge of that pile all the way to right where this walkway is, and I've expanded it some. And if you look at any of my videos about these pathways in the urban lot back in May, you'll be able to see like from then on like how it's kind of transformed. But this was about 6 dump truck loads, including I had a tree that actually was growing over this garage, so I had that trimmed. And you can see right there in the back where the trunk of it is. So that tree basically had a whole bunch of branches that went all the way to like right here on the garage, and then I had this big maple topped. You can't really, just say there's like 3 times as much foliage as there is now, and it was quite a bit taller. And I just had them just shred it right on the property, run onto the top. I wanted to mention about this specifically was when I paid these guys, I think it was like $6.50 for both trees to be trimmed, and they knocked off about $50 because I said I wanted the wood chips to stay here. So when you think about the chip drop and doing the fee, if you want to make it worth their while, maybe they'll pay more attention. Like I'm going to change my donation to $80. And it seems like, oh, it's $80. Well, that's like, that's like 2 pickup truck loads, which isn't going to get you very far. And compared to paying for a dump truck, which is, $480, whatever, full, which is, a usable amount, $80 donation for, potentially unlimited wood chips is pretty, it's a great deal. I'll show you the difference in the chip drop wood chips that are like singly cut, they're specifically sized, to ones that you'd get from wood chop, like a chip drop, or if an arborist came to do yours. There's quite a difference in the size and the different. Yeah, it's kind of bright out here. So what I wanted to show you basically is there is some that are pretty similar size, but you also have these sticks and twigs and that one snapped off, but. So it's not all uniform and all that, but it's nice having things that are different sizes because they'll break down at different rates. And then it gives more, it's more of an even coverage. If you think about if you have everything all the same size, it's a lot easier for those things to kind of like mat out. And then if you're trying to suppress weeds, it'll be easier for them just to kind of go through. But if it's, this just looks like it's a lot more thicker and more compact as far as suppressing weeds and all that. And it can be a lot cheaper, so even if it's not, when you think of, wood chips in a landscaping kind of setting, you think of every chip being the same size and probably they're colored like a purple or pink or red or blue or green or whatever. That's not the effect that I want, because one, I don't want the chemicals, and two, it's supposed to be like a natural planting, not something that's, you know, artificial and man-made. I'm gonna cut it off here, but I want to thank everybody for watching, and if you'd like to, just check out Chip Drop if you just Google that. If not, you can go around just by Google search and you can look up local arborists or tree cutting services and see what they'll do. If you give them a good location just to drop off, they can be in contact with you and you can save a lot of money doing that. Otherwise, if you do have some trees to trim, that'd be a great way to kind of get on the good side. You know, they're already coming to make some money trimming your trees, which, especially for this maple that opened up so much sun from my property, and of course the tree that was about to fall on my garage. So that kind of got me in, and then from there it was like, okay, yeah, if you're trimming any trees in the neighborhood, which a lot of people get trees trimmed, especially with all the maples, and then they know they can just drop it off here, and maybe if you tell them, yeah, I'll give you $40 for every drop, and you know, you're saving a lot of money. And these wood chips are just so useful in so many ways. So thanks again for watching, and of course, if you want to see how this property has progressed, just look at some of my earlier videos and you'll see how I've basically used making garden beds out of wood chips by sheet mulching, and I've made that in such a way so now there's all these pathways and stuff through my property. So alright, thanks again, see you next time, bye bye.